We are live here. This is Hannibal from thehannibaltv.com with former NWA World Champion, former WWE superstar, legend in the wrestling business, rugged Ronnie Garvin, but I like him better as the Hands of Stone. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. Hope you're doing fine. Yeah, I tell you what, I'm a lucky man. I wake up alive every day.
Yeah, that's not like a lot of your contemporaries in the wrestling business.
Oh, I know. They're leaving left and right.
And you still actually look very similar to how you did in your prime. Maybe not quite as thick, but you still look like you're in shape.
Yeah,
You still have your hair.
I'm going to get the big head. It's going to go to my head.
No, I had some fans that wanted me to ask you how you actually got your nicknames.
Yeah. Well, the Hands of Stone, that's you can blame Gordon Soley for that. Gordon Soley is the one that gave me the name.
And that's because of your chops and blows, unlike what we see on TV today, actually connected and were very realistic.
Yeah, the first thing I knew, I wrestled on TV. That was in Georgia days. He came up with that, and then every show he was saying, "Hands of Stone."
Would Gordon have been your favorite commentator over the years to commentate your matches?
He was one of the best. Soley was one of the best, and he was good at coming out with some new holes that we've never heard of. He was very good.
Is it true that he really liked to drink too sometimes when he was commentating?
Oh yeah, I think so. I think he was better.
Yeah.
When he had a few, I think he was better.
I've actually wrestled some wrestlers that were better after they've had a few.
Yeah, I never did. I don't know. I had too much concentration.
So when they changed your name to Rugged Ronnie Garvin, was that because WWE wanted to create a new nickname for you?
I think so. They want to be different, and didn't matter to me one way or the other. Before that, I was a one-man gang, and then New York had a one-man gang.
Yeah, they gave it to the Akeem, who was a big guy. Why do you think New York didn't really use any of the NWA wrestlers to their full potential?
Yeah, they wanted their own brand. What's in the name? What the heck? If you live up to it, what the heck?
Yeah. Where did you learn to wrestle that stiff, rugged style? Because you definitely had your own style. We've heard Ric Flair say you would actually blister his chest from your chops.
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, I split his chest where it was bleeding. Yeah, it almost looked like he was cut. It was open, the skin. But I gave him credit. He never complained.
There's some fans watching this live as we're doing it, and there's a fan named Albert Retro that says he started getting a brush cut like you after he saw you in WWE, and he says thanks for the memories, and he likes how you wear your hair.
Well, thank you. Who was this guy?
A guy, it's a fan. There's some fans watching this as we're doing it. His name is Al.
Okay. Well, tell him thank you for the compliment. I guess it's a compliment.
Yeah, well, he said he got his hair cut like yours because he liked it. So,
well, I'm honored.
I had a haircut like yours too, but it was when I was in the military and they made me do it.
Yeah, well, to me, short hair is more comfortable to start with.
Oh yes, especially when you're wrestling every night.
Oh yeah,
and yeah,
cooler in the summer too.
Now, I heard you have a one-on-one victory over Andre the Giant. Is that true?
Yep, yep, it sure is. Sure is. I wrestled him. He had a partner. It was a handicap match. He had a partner against me.
Wow.
I think it's 1968, Knoxville, Tennessee. Yeah.
Is that because he respected you so much, and maybe because you're both French, that he didn't
I,
mind?
I, well, I think he liked me, and I liked him. You know, it's too bad I never was real close to him because he was always on the road, but he was a tremendous guy.
Did you ever get the chance to go out partying with him?
No, well, one time we went to New Orleans Mardi Gras. That's when he first. That was in the '70s, and he was in good shape then. He had Frank Valois travel with him, a wrestler from Montreal, big guy,
Yeah.
and which he could drink about just as much as Andre. And we partied, we drank, and of course he probably drank 100 beers to my 6 pack. And we were walking out at 3 o'clock in the morning. We were walking back to our vehicle to go home. I was driving, and this guy was walking by with his girlfriend or wife. I don't know what. And he stopped and he looked at Andre. Now this is 3 o'clock in the morning, and he says, "You look like a freak." Andre grabbed him by the shirt, picked him up, held him in the air, and slapped him. But it was just like a slow motion, just slow slap, because he had a big hand. His hands were
Yeah.
that big. If he would have put any force behind it, he probably would have killed the guy. But he knocked him out just with it, just like a big old bear. And he dropped him on the sidewalk. He picked him up again and gave him another slap. And the wife or girlfriend, she's screaming. So we kept walking. We started walking towards the car, and I said, "Oh my God, the cops are going to be here. We're going to jail." No, we got in the car, and nobody came. Drove off, and never heard anything about it. Well, what an idiot to call that guy a freak. He had to
Yeah.
be drunk himself. But
Did
he
you
was
have
a gentle. He was a
did you
gentle
have
guy.
to
Pardon me.
did you have to defend yourself much like that when you were wrestling as a heel back in those days? You'd have fans.
Oh, I got a lot of problems. I I tell you stories you probably wouldn't believe it. Yeah, yeah. I had especially with the blonde hair in the '60s. You might as well have a sign and or call yourself named Sue.
Oh, really?
You have to be careful in bars too. Yeah, I got attacked. I actually got attacked 3 or 4 different times. Of course, it didn't end well for them, but you got to do what you got to do.
Did you enjoy being a heel or a face better?
Yeah, I had a better time being a heel. Yeah, I could do that easy. It came easier to me. I had a lot of natural instincts.
So
Well,
I get
if you want to be successful in wrestling, to me, you gotta at least look legit. If you look like you can't whip anybody, you know, uh, people are not going to get with it. And if you don't do anything convincing, when you get in the ring and you turn your back to your opponent or you waltz around, MMA fighters don't do that. They're
no.
on their toes, man. They're ready to go. Well, that's what you got to do in wrestling. And that was a big mistake I think some guys made. You know, they didn't look like they were concerned. This is a guy that wants to beat you. If you go to a fight, you got to be on your guards, and everything you do is got to look good. If you miss by 6 inches, if you can't punch, you shouldn't throw punches. If you can't kick, you shouldn't kick anybody. Because if you just wrestle, the wrestling is hard to see through that. plain wrestling holds and stuff like that. But when you start kicking and punching, yeah, you better be good at it. You got to be convincing. And if you
That's
convince
one
people
thing that's
in a
missing
fight,
today.
if you convince people you're in a fight, they're going to get with it. You got to convince them you're in a fight, and it's, and you got to try to beat each other. Instead of walking around and turning your back or a lot of guys jump out of the ring sometimes, and well, it's good, but I think I used to look at it and I always thought it kind of killed the match a little. You got to stay in the fight, even if you're a heel or a baby face, and then the baby face gets better than you, but you got to still fight.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their own opinion, and I always said, you got to work hard. If you come out of the ring and you're not sweating, and longer matches, you can tell a better story. You go in the ring in 10 minutes, what are you going to do? Yeah, but there's so many different styles and so many different ways of having success. Who knows? Today, I don't know what they're doing.
It's a lot of gymnastics type wrestling and wrestlers wrestling in shirts and basketball shorts. I know that you don't watch it.
No. Well, a lot of it is like a trampoline act. I've seen some unbelievable things, moves that they do, and they're right back up on their feet. And I'm going, wow, this guy's got a cape. He's going to start flying. He's going to fly around the ring. They don't sell anything. It's like nothing happened. Back flips off the top rope, landing on tables, on the floor. In the old days, they'd carry you out. You did something like that, they'd carry you out.
Have you seen Randy Orton wrestle? He does the Garvin stomp now, Cowboy Bob Orton's son. He kind of...
Yeah, somebody told me that. Yeah. Well, it's an honor. I take it as a compliment.
Have you seen Randy in the ring?
I've seen him a long time ago when he started at WWE. I don't watch anymore, but when he started at WWE, I just happened to land on that channel, and I heard Randy Orton, and I said, the only time I ever seen him, he was about 4, 5, 6 months old in the crib. He'd just been born. I think I was either in Knoxville or Lexington. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, he was a little baby. And then, but I knew his name was Randy. So I said, it's got to be him. Of course, he didn't look like a baby anymore.
No.
What a good looking guy and big physique and hell of a good worker, good wrestler. Well,
he's one of the better workers today.
It's in his genes, the family. I wrestled his grandfather. I wrestled his dad. His dad, man, it was a pleasure to work with somebody like that.
I saw a video that was very unusual of you and his dad called Plan B that Bob Roop was also in. Do you remember why you guys did that video? I don't know who released it, but a couple years ago it came out finally. I don't think it was released at the time, but could you tell us the story behind?
Well, we split up from Fuller, and it was kind of an insurance. I don't know who thought of it. Maybe all of us, maybe one of us. I don't remember. But it was like an insurance, I guess. We figured, well, if we don't win this fight, well, we'll kill the business. But I don't think it would have done that, because Vince did the same thing. Vince went on TV and told him it wasn't real about New Jersey, so he could get rid of the commission. Everybody said he's going to kill wrestling. Well, you can't kill wrestling. And I guess that was the plan, and we never needed it because everybody went out of business. Eventually,
right.
Knoxville was dead. We was gone. So,
do you have any idea who would have put that out? Like who would have had that video to put out a couple years ago? Because
we could have put it on the TV. We had a TV program.
Yeah.
See, we had television. The station wasn't very good because it didn't go anywhere. It just went around Knoxville. That was another mistake we made. We weren't prepared to promote. We were not. We didn't have the right television. Which it's a big it's a big problem when you don't have a good TV. That it didn't go anywhere. Just Knoxville itself, where Channel 10, the other station, was going all over, even in Kentucky and all over the place. We had the Tri-City area to wrestle, you know, Bristol and all those cities, those towns, and nah, we was ill equipped to promote. You know.
Did you ever make up with Ron Fuller? I know that was obviously a bad time for you guys.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he I did he's got a podcast. I did an hour on it or something, you know, and he talked to me in Alabama at the reunion one time, a few minutes, and so you know, I guess let bygone be bygone. I mean, but but
There's a there's a fan watching this live. He's French. His name's Jonathan, and he was asking if you could say anything in French for the French fans watching.
to the my French is getting pretty bad. Say what to the French now?
They just want to know if you could say something in French because they've never heard you speak French.
Oh, well, bonjour les amateurs de lutte du Québec. Je veux vous dire un beau bonsoir, bonjour. Ici, c'est presque la nuit. Moi, je parle français. Ça me prend du temps à me rappeler. Parce que je parle pas ce français bien souvent. Puis, j'ai été élevé au Québec. Donc,
When you are with Ray Rougeau, when you guys hunt together, do you speak French together or English?
well, the funny thing is, my wife tells me, she says, when you talk to Raymond, you talk in French for 2 minutes, and then the next 3 minutes you're in English, and then you're back in French. So we'll go back and forth. Well, what it is it takes me about a week or two to come back. The longer I go visit in Canada, and after about a week or two, I get better because I got to translate all this back in my head. And but I don't forget completely. It's just that I got to search, and so the first few days is a little bit harder. So whatever comes easy, I'll go English, and then we'll go French and back to English. It flows better that way.
I know you and Ray are very close now. You're very well remembered in this area for your feud with the Rougeaus. I think you sold out the Montreal Forum 3 times or something with that feud. Any thoughts on that classic match, you and Jimmy against Jacques and Raymond?
Oh, this is good memories. I mean, I still don't believe it happened. It was unbelievable. I mean, everywhere we went in the province, I mean, it was people were. it was it was incredible actually, but they were. It was enjoyable to wrestle them, you know, and everything clicked. We just had that chemistry, I guess, you know, and but hey, we busted our ass too. We worked hard. We didn't lay down, and you know, and again, I go back to what I said earlier. People were watching a fight. It looked like somebody was trying to beat somebody. It didn't look like douchebags rolling around in the ring, you know, with big bellies and whatever. It looked like a real fight, and that's what you got to do. If people believe they've seen a fight, they're going to stand up, they're going to yell, they're going to scream, they're going to throw shit at you, they're going to cuss you, whatever, and you know, it was a good chemistry. Raymond, man, I tell you, he's a great guy, and his brother Jacques, he was good, you know, and we made it look real.
And I remember
they believed that when Senior, their dad slid under the rope to try to help him. I mean, I come off the top rope on him, and I think they carried him out, if I remember right. Yeah, people were mad.
And then you did it again around. Yeah, Around the
Did he
year
go?
2000, you did it again.
The
You
what?
remember? You remember around the year 2000, you had another feud with Jacques and Raymond, and you guys still had 3,000 or 4,000 people a couple of times. I was at those shows.
Yeah,
That was pretty
yeah,
impressive.
yeah. And then there was some kind of record in the Montreal Forum, the house. I mean, there was it was all over the place, everywhere, every town we went. It was, yeah, it was memorable.
Now, I don't know how long you've been married, but the fans always like me to ask what the best town for the wrestling groupies was in your experience. I don't know if you've been married 40 years or if you were single at one time in the business, but is there any town that you found had more groupies?
Well, I used to call them arena rats. People call them groupies. We nicknamed them in the old days. I go back in the '60s, in the '70s. We we called them arena rats. The reason is because we wrestled in arenas. We didn't wrestle in coliseums and big facilities. They were usually arenas. So, but nah, the groupies. When I was single, there was some pretty good towns that there was a lot of groupies, but that never
How
was
was the
something for me.
Montreal territory for that?
I don't know. I never wrestled much in Montreal. You know,
Okay.
uh, a career was in the states, and in '85, you know, I don't know. I didn't go anywhere. I was staying with my parents in a campground because I came up to visit. That's how the whole thing started. I wanted to spend time with my mom and dad. They were getting old, and I left home when I was young. And I had called Dino Bravo, and I said I'd like to wrestle one time a week because I'm going to be up here for a couple of 2, 3 months instead of one time a week. I think I was wrestling 6 days a week. So,
Did you ever hear
but
what happened with Dino Bravo, by the way, now that you bring his name up? Did you ever hear the true story of what happened on why?
well, I've got a pretty good idea. Got a pretty good idea. Yeah, I heard a lot of stuff, but I got my own. Uh, it was people around him he didn't know. He thought he did. Yeah, but that's the way those things work out. Usually, they do you in as people you least expect. You know, hard to prove too. You know, but everybody has an opinion. But I heard some stories, and pretty sad. To end that way.
Because he could have had another run in WWE. He hadn't even been out of WWE for about a year. It
I
seemed
know.
like if he wanted to, he
Yeah,
could have gone to WCW or something, but he went the other way and got into that business.
yeah, yeah. Well, he knew a lot of people that were in that kind of business. Sometimes you got to be careful of the choice you make. I liked Dino. He was a good guy. Yeah, I liked him.
There's a fan on here asking if you have any memories of your matches against Carlos Colon in Puerto Rico, where I think you beat
Oh
him 2 times.
yeah, yeah, I do. Yeah, Carlos. I knew Carlos from the late '60s, early '70s, and he's quite a worker. Yeah, I had a good time going there.
Do
I went
you
over there when they were boycotting because of what had happened to Frank Goodish. What was his name?
Bruiser Brody?
Bruiser Brody. Bruiser Brody. Well, so they had a hard time getting guys. I went over there after that. Well, they always treated me good over there. It was a
You
little
have
bit dangerous to run.
You have a fan from Poland that wants to know any favorite matches with Ivan Putski or any Polish wrestlers.
I never was around him. For some reason, I never was on the same card. Uh, I've never wrestled him. I don't think I ever met him.
Okay.
It's funny how things the same thing. I went to Tampa, Florida to sign autographs at a fan fest, and Bruno Sammartino was there. He came over to my table. I, I was honored, man. He said, we never met. All these years in the business, we never met. So he introduced himself. I knew who he was and talked to him for quite a while. Real nice guy. Ivan Putski's the same thing. I never run into him.
Did you ever wrestle the California territory?
I went to Cali. I wrestled, I think, a week. I was passing through in the 60s. And that was it. I just didn't like the West Coast for some reason. I just didn't like to live in the North either. Going up north and the winters, and my career has been mainly in the South. Once I went south, I was spoiled.
Yeah. Do you have any memories of when you turned on Dusty Rhodes? A fan is asking about turning on the fat Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah, the fat man. Yeah. Yeah, then, well, yeah, that was, I can't remember the whole thing. I think it was, what's the manager's name?
Gary Hart.
Gary Hart. It was, yeah. And then he went, that's when I left. I left right after that.
Yeah.
I had plans to leave anyway.
I'm trying to call out his son Cody to wrestle me, but so far Dusty's son has been chicken. He might see this. What would you do if you were trying to call out Dusty's son and he was ignoring your challenges? Any advice?
No, I don't know. I met Cody a few times. Well, is there two of them or one?
There's also Dustin. There's Dustin as well.
I never met Cody. It's the other one, the older one.
Yeah,
Dustin.
Gold Dust. Yeah,
Dustin. That's the one I've met. Yeah, yeah. He went to WWE after I was gone. I never.
Okay.
I think I met him once or twice. Well, I never was around when he was working.
There's another fan asking which promotion you earned the most money in. Would that have been WWE?
The question is what again? Which promotion? What?
What did you get your biggest paydays in? Was that WWE or NWA?
I think NWA. Yeah, when I won the world title. Yeah. Yeah, that was the one. I had pretty good ones in with pay-per-view when I went to WWE. There's some good pays, but yeah, the biggest was NWA.
Now, Dusty and Tully Blanchard's manager, Baby Doll, I'm friends with her, and she told me to ask you about the time you were flying with her and there was an electrical power issue flying back from Riley, and you had to land without landing lights, radio, or authorization from the tower.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think it was, who was with me? That was Mulligan's son. What's his name?
Barry Windham.
Barry Windham and Kendall. Yeah, Barry Windham. Barry and Kendall were in the plane. And I lost the electrical on the way. And we were going some town in Virginia. We landed on a private field. We called a farmer, and he cut the grass because the grass was too tall. It's incredible stories. I called him, and I told him who I was. And when I told him I had Barry Windham and Kendall. Oh, my God. He says, I'll go cut the field right now. So by the time we got there, like 2-3 hours later, man, the field was cut, all grass. It was nice. We landed, but I had an electrical problem. So I told him, I says, tonight, when we leave to go home, I'm going to need a jump with jumper cables. And he says, oh, really? I said, yeah. He said, no problem. So we went to wrestle. And, when we landed there was like 30 people around the barn. He had told the whole neighborhood. And they gave us a ride to the airport because it was about maybe 8 miles away. And, of course, we let them in. give them some tickets. They were real nice country people. We came back and got the plane jumped. The problem, I didn't have no lights. So, and this is out in the country. So I says, you're going to have to take a pickup truck, go chase the deers off the field. And they did. They was about half a dozen deers eating grass and all over. I couldn't take off in the dark. I didn't have any lights. So I said, now what we're going to do, I said, you go to the end of the runway when I'm ready after we chase the deers, and I want you to turn your pickup truck away from me where I can see the two red lights of your tail. That way I can line up and go straight ahead. And I want you at the very end, so when I take off, I'll be over you. And that's what we did. That's how we took off. And Barry and Kendall couldn't believe it. They said, man, how are you going to do that? I said, I'll show you. So we lined up and we took off. And I couldn't retract the gear either because the gear is electric. So we flew home with the gear down, no lights, no radio. So we got to coming into Charlotte. I couldn't have done that if the weather would have been bad. It was very clear skies, stars were out. And of course, I can't land legally into Charlotte because it's called a TCA. And you need communication, and you need to be going to be on radar, and you got to talk to someone because of all the traffic that they have. But it was 1 o'clock in the morning, and I said to myself, not too many airplanes landing at 1 o'clock in the morning. So Barry says, what are you going to do? I said, what? We're going to land in Charlotte. Oh, really? I said, yeah, we're going to land in Charlotte. That's where our car is. So I was coming from the east, so the airport is to the west of Charlotte. And I figure if I stay low, they won't pick me up on radar because the building in North Carolina, in Charlotte, the tall building, are blocking the signal. And I said, I'm going to fly low over the town and then start down. The airport's 5 miles west of the airport. So anyway, I had my plane in my head. So we're so low as we're flying over downtown Charlotte. And Barry says to Kendall, Kendall, look at downtown Charlotte. You'll never see it like this again. We were like 100 feet over the tall buildings. Anyway, and we landed in Charlotte, and I said, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. We got out of the plane, and we went inside, and nobody came. They never knew I landed. Everything turned out to be okay. Yeah, I pulled it off.
There's a fan on here asking if you have any memories of wrestling in Philadelphia. I know that's a bit of a garbage dump town, but do you have any fond memories of wrestling there?
In Philadelphia?
Yeah.
No, not really. I remember Baltimore, Cleveland, some places I can't even place the building, but yeah, they were all good towns, really. I mean,
as long as you got paid, you didn't care.
Oh, that's it. That was the bottom line with me. It was a job, that was work.
The first interview that I did with you, Steve Austin, I don't know if you know Steve Austin, but he's a big star in wrestling. He contacted me and told me he watched the interview and he really liked it. Have you seen him wrestle at all or had any contact with him over the years? Because he's a big fan of yours.
Steve Austin, the wrestler?
Yeah, he's a big fan of yours.
Really?
Big NWA fan.
Well, tell him a big hello for me. I met him one time. And I can't remember. I was with Raymond Rougeau, and he introduced me to Steve. And Steve was having a chain match, and he asked me a few things. He said, "What can I do with a chain match?" I remember that. I was impressed. Him asking me. I said, "Well, that was an honor." No, he had a good style too. I like his work. That was really something.
I guess that would have been when he was in WCW or something. When you met him, probably.
No, he was at WWE.
Oh, okay.
That was at WWE. I didn't know him before that. I had never heard of him. But that was a WWE because I was up there for something, and I wasn't working there. That was after I had left. I was up there with Raymond Rougeau for something, and it was in a town. They were doing TV. That's what it was. And Raymond was doing the translation. You know, the voiceover
Yeah,
or whatever,
I
or
think he still
translation.
does that.
Yeah, that's how I got to be there, and that's how I met Steve. Yeah.
Do you still keep in contact with Pat Patterson at all?
No, no, no. I heard he's not doing too well. You know, I know he lives in Montreal. I think that's what
I
somebody
heard
told
he
me.
has some dementia issues or something. That his brain is kind of
Yeah,
not all there.
I've known him since we went. I went to the same school, but he was already gone because he's a little older than me, 2, 3 years older, I think. And we were raised like I don't know, 4 or 5 blocks apart, same neighborhood. Yeah, I didn't know he was that bad. Somebody said he had health issues.
That's what I've heard. I haven't. I don't know him personally, but I heard that a few friends of mine have talked to him recently, and they said it doesn't seem like everything's all there in the head. His memory doesn't seem to be very good, and I guess he had an
Yeah,
incident at Rocky Johnson's funeral where he kind of talked some crazy talk. I don't know if you heard about that.
yeah. That's sad. That's sad, man. You know, Rocky Johnson, I was supposed to go see him 2 days later. Somebody said he died. I said, "You're kidding. I'm fixing to go see him, you know, in Florida because I'll go down there in the wintertime. And I was going to go see his horses and his farm, you know, and that's sad. Just never know. We're losing a lot of guys.
I had a few fans that wanted me to ask you what your relationship was with Terry Garvin. Uh, was there any real relation between you two?
We were just, you know, tag team partners, you know, it was business. You know, he had his life, I had mine. And, you know, just like when I team up with Jimmy, you know, just it was just a business deal. Well, you know, we did real good. We did real good. You know, he had a good gimmick. You know, he had that whatever. He had the hair and all that, and the robes, and you know, he would get some heat. You know, you gotta understand. If you had blonde hair back then, you got automatic heat. People booed it. You know, well, they thought you were gay. You know, if you had blonde hair, you were queer. That's what they called you back then. You're a damn queer. You know, the world has changed. Today you got purple hair, green hair. I mean, you name it. Nobody cares. But if you had blonde hair, that was one of the reasons to have blonde hair. You got automatic heat. They hated you. They didn't even know you. They hated you.
with with all those accusations that came out about Garvin in later years, Terry Garvin, do you think that was all blown out of proportion, or do you think there was
Well,
anything to
I don't know. He was gay, and I mean, he was wide open with it. I mean, it was not a secret. He let everybody know. He wasn't bashful. You know, he
that?
had his own life. He had his own life, and you know, I had my wife, I had my kids, and you know, I had a different life. So
Tony
I don't
Atlas didn't.
care what I never did care what people did in their personal life anyway.
Yeah,
You know.
there's a lot of strange stuff in wrestlers' personal lives too that you really don't want to know about. In my
Oh, yeah, I
experience,
can imagine. I can imagine.
Tony Atlas was telling me a story about you. Tony Atlas said you used to like to rib people on the road. You would actually drive right up to their bumper, going like 100
Oh,
miles an hour on the highways and
oh,
actually push them. Is that true?
oh, yeah, yeah. It's true and plus. I mean, I did stuff that should be dead. I mean, oh yeah, Tim Woods one time, the Skyway Bridge in Florida. It was about 11 o'clock at night. I come up on the Skyway Bridge and I realized that the car in front of me is Tim Woods. So I turned my lights off and I eased up on his bumper. He never knew it. I start pushing it. I got him to 90 miles an hour across that bridge. I could only see the head in the rear view. Just he talked about that till the day he died. Yeah, had some good laughs. Yeah, he looked at his speedometer. He's doing 90 miles an hour. So he just steered a car.
Did you ever travel with Bobby Heenan at all on the road?
No, no. He was a good guy. The manager, Bobby Eden.
Yes. Yeah.
I
Bobby
think I did. I did a couple of trips. I did a couple of trips. Oh, I laughed the whole time. He was a good guy. I liked him. Yeah. Then I saw him in a fan fest somewhere when he had his operation. He had cancer of the throat. Yeah, I almost didn't recognize him. You know, he even gave me his book.
That's a great book. Funny book.
Yeah. But he was a funny guy. Made you laugh all the time.
Where did you get the idea of sitting on an opponent's chest after your victory? A fan is asking.
Well, I started getting tired. They were hard to beat, so I figured I'd rest it after I beat them. No, I don't know. It just popped up in my head. Yeah. Take a break, kiss you, blow on your hand. Yeah, different. I don't like routine. I like to do. I used to think different things when I travel in the car, You got to be creative too sometimes,
Would you say Mad Dog Vachon was the toughest Quebec wrestler to ever wrestle, or who would you give that distinction to?
He did wrestle. He eats you alive. No, yeah, probably one of the toughest. Yeah. He was. Don't piss him off. All I can say.
Did you ever see him in action?
He had the ability to wrestle too. He all around. He's a pretty tough guy.
He was an Olympian, I believe.
Yeah.
At one point.
He was at the Olympics.
I never heard of him losing a bar fight. I don't know if you ever saw him in a bar fight, but supposedly.
Oh, yeah. I saw him in one in Chicoutimi. Yeah. He hit somebody at the matches. Well, they attacked him and he whacked somebody. And it turned out that the guy that got whacked, his brother was a tough guy in the town, was a bully. So the Vachons and a bunch of wrestlers were at this bar in Chicoutimi, Quebec. And this guy, he don't know what Maurice Vachon looks like. Well, Maurice was with Paul. Paul is big, They're both sitting at the bar. This guy walks in the bar. He wants to kick Maurice Vachon, but he don't know Maurice. So he asked. I don't know if they told him. So they told him they were sitting at the bar. So he walks over. He looks at Paul. He looks at Maurice. Looks at Paul again. He decides, it's got to be Maurice. He's going to jump on. He should have jumped on Paul. But he starts to fight with Maurice. Oh, my God. Maurice Paul driving him in the ground. On the hard floor. And in the meantime, he hit his head, split his head on the column. But that didn't stop him. He beat the oh, jeez. That poor guy, man. I tell you what, they carried him out of there. But he should have picked on Paul. He would have had a better chance.
You mentioned Chicoutimi. Do you find it sad at all that there's no wrestling in Chicoutimi now? And there's so many towns like Chicoutimi and other Quebec towns that don't even get wrestling. Right? Yeah.
Really?
And it used to be a big town for wrestling. But now it's it seems.
Chicoutimi and Quebec were great towns. Yeah, they had some good crowds in Chicoutimi. Why? There nobody promoting or nothing?
No.
Wow.
Seems like wrestling, other than in Montreal, is dead pretty much. There's some in Quebec City, but nothing really great.
Nobody wants to start a promotion, or no interest, eh?
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, it used to be great.
Were you friends with Rick Martel at all? Speaking of Quebec City,
I know Rick, but no, we never hung around together. Uh, well, I left Montreal a long time ago. You know, long time, 1962 actually.
wow.
I went to 60, yeah, something like that, 62 or 3, 62.
How did you like working with Jim Cornette in the NWA? There's a bunch of fans that wanted me to ask you about him.
Yeah, he was good. He did a good job. He had a lot of heat. You know, his mouth. He can get some heat with his mouth.
Yeah, he still can.
He can piss a lot of people off. Yeah, he's a talented guy. You know, we worked with him when he was managing. What's their name? Bobby Eaton and
And Dennis
Midnight
Conner.
Dennis
Express.
Conner. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We had good matches.
Speaking of heat, do you have any tips as a heel to give to any heels that might be watching this out there? Do you have any tips for a heel wrestler?
Uh, well, the tips. Just bust your ass, man, and you know, there's nothing like if a guy fights back, the heel, and he lets the babyface take over eventually, but fight back. That's how people get off their seat and stand up and everything when they're watching a fight. You know, if you're not watching a fight, it's boring. You know, and there's some guys that never try to pin a guy during a whole match, a whole entire 30-minute match, never try to pin the guy until the end, on the finish. You know,
Yeah,
well, the object of wrestling is a pin or submission. You know, that's the object. And you want to get a reaction from the people, you got to make them believe, well, I'm trying to beat this son of a bitch, or I'm trying to break his leg and make him give up, or something like that. You know, it's, I don't know. You got to make it look as logical as possible.
I
You know,
see.
and if people really believe that, I've had people say, "Was you guys shooting?" Yeah, they were convinced we were shooting. You know, we're pissing each other. Well, look, even Cornette, I used to scare him. That's what he says. He says I look like a crazy maniac. He said, you look at his eyes, he look crazy. I heard him say that. You know, well, when you're mad, you should look mad. You know, I don't know. Everybody has got their own way of success, I guess. You know, I was not a 6'6" guy, and Maurice Vachon was not a big guy either. You know, but he was convincing. You know, he was very convincing.
Do you have any favorite match that you've had over the years? Any particular match that stands out to you as one of your personal
Oh,
favorites?
oh, I've had great matches with Bob Orton, Jr., uh, Ted DiBiase, Mr. Perfect,
Greg Valentine.
Greg Valentine. Oh, yeah, I mean, there's so many of them. There's a lot of them. You know, a lot of good, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some. You know, but yeah, it was fun. Uh, Tully Blanchard. You know, Flair was good. You know,
Did you ever hang out with Flair outside the ring? I know you were on opposite sides a lot of the times.
no, I've never really, no, never done anything with him. We didn't, small talk maybe in the dressing room, passing. You know, but we was always opposite dressing room. We never traveled together. Uh, I didn't live the lifestyle that he did either. So
No.
I probably would have
You
met him.
probably have a lot more money than him too, because I think he wasted all of his money over the years on five wives and frivolous
Yeah.
spending.
Well, the money he made, he should be pretty well off. You
Yeah.
know, I wish I would have made the money he made. Yeah, I'm doing fine too. Sometimes it's not what you make, it's what you keep.
Have you seen Flair's daughter wrestle, Charlotte Flair? She's pretty good.
Is she?
Yeah.
No, no, I've never seen her. I don't watch it anymore, but I heard she was wrestling. I don't, I don't think I ever met her. But, well, it's probably in her genes. you know, probably in her genes, probably do well.
Tully's daughter wrestles too. I don't know if you've seen Tully Blanchard's daughter, but there's a company that actually made her the men's champion of the company, and then she defeated all the men in this company, Impact Wrestling, then quit. So she's the undefeated men's champion.
Well, I get the guy. I guess the guy she worked with weren't too stiff.
No.
I think I would have been pretty damn stiff.
Yeah.
You're gonna beat me. You're gonna earn it.
Exactly. What do you think about wrestlers now? Pretty much overall, they're just admitting it's a show. Even in the build up to matches, they don't talk like they hate each other anymore. They build it up by saying, "Oh, we're going to tell a great story. The fans are going to love this match. We're going to work well together."
Well, what I've seen. The reason I quit watching is it's not believable. You know, I don't want my intelligence insulted. You know, if you do something believable, you know, it's like a movie. If I watch a movie and I can't get into the movie because the acting is so lousy or the plot or whatever, I go on. You know, I used to love to watch Jack Briscoe and Dory Funk wrestle. That was the most amazing thing I've seen. In the days of Buddy Rogers with Pat O'Connor, never threw a punch, wrestled and did all kinds, and people standing for 30, 40 minutes, and no punches, no kicks, no nothing like that. They were watching a wrestling contest. Two guys trying to beat each other, you know, and I respect that. If you can do that, but they can't, and it's not their fault because they never had anybody teach them that. They get trained and then they send them in the ring to do high spots, to do spots. They call them spots. We went in the ring and we played by ear.
Yeah.
I wrestled Ric Flair for an hour and we played by ear.